Welcome to Talk with Olena podcast for RCICs and other immigration practitioners who would love to build and grow their business. Today, I'm super excited about this episode because I want to tell you a story. It's kind of like a case study, and it is a story about one of RCICs that I started working with early last year in 2025, and I'm just really amazed how far she's come. So I was thinking about her story, about her journey, and I wanted to share her journey with you so you can take this as a lesson. And I'm going to break it down what foundational pieces we've built for her business in the last year. And that hopefully you can take this information and you can kind of diagnose what foundational pieces maybe you want to work on, improve, or maybe that are lacking in your business. So this case study is specifically about RCIC who came to me before they even received the license. So if you are in those super early stages of starting out your business, if you are maybe just studying in Queen's University or just about to pass your EPE and receive your license, this episode would be specifically useful for you because it's really going to talk about those first steps and first foundational pieces that you really want to pay attention to in the first 3, 4, 5 months of starting out your practice and planning out your business. All right, so let's dive into it. First, let me explain how this RCIC that I was working with, like where did she start and what was happening in her life and her business when she came to me. So she came to me early last year in 2025, and she literally just graduated Queen's University and she just passed her EPE exam. So literally the moment that she passed her EPE exam, she knew that she did well, it's passed. She contacted me and we got on a call. And what she said to me, like, hey, I just passed my EPE. I expect to receive my license in 2 months from now. So depending on, how the process goes and all the wait times, but I'm expecting it to be in 2 months from now. And what I want to do, I want to start building my business foundations. So by the time I receive my license, I'm ready to hit the ground running. For some personal reasons, it was super important for her to make sure that her business performs as soon as possible, that she's able to make income as soon as possible, and she's able, most importantly, to receive that proof of concept that this business has a potential to provide her with a good living earnings, and this business is going to work for her. Right. So that was very important part. Therefore, she was super motivated to, start kind of earlier. And I said, look, obviously you cannot do any sort of like marketing or promotion or anything before you receive your license. We have to be very careful about this. But what we did, we actually come up with 100-day plan that allowed her to build foundations. So this is the most important lesson of this episode, is that, a year, more than a year, fast forward right now, this RCIC has built like one of the most amazing businesses and achieved the most amazing progresses that I've seen. But she did it because in early stages, she was able to really focus on 4 foundational pieces. And I'm going to keep these foundational pieces super practical for you so you can actually, take this information as, so to speak, action plan and hit the ground running. So basically what happened, we sat down and we said, okay, we have 100 days. Let's use these 100 days to build foundations of the business. So then the full intention is that after we build the foundation, that we're going to start receiving, good consistency, cash flow, consultations, retainers, and those foundations will be already running like a well-oiled engine. So in those 100 days, we started with a foundation number 1. So the first thing that we did, and it's not an easy job for a new RCIC, we had to have a hard conversation on what she wants to handle as an RCIC in terms of case types, in terms of clients that she works with, in terms of just vision of her business and who she wants to help, right? We also needed to talk about her pricing strategy. There is really no right or wrong, niche or pricing strategy, but it has to be some sort of focus, even when you're starting out. And it is honestly harder to, so to speak, niche down for new RCAC than it is for RCAC with some experience. Because when you have some experience, you already know how things are. You already know what you like, what you don't like. You already know that on visitor visa, I spend so much time that it makes 0 cents. So at some point, a lot of RCACs like drop visitor visas, right? And you have the gist of like where you spend more time, where you spend less time, what people you like working with, what maybe people are not good a good fit for you to work with, and you already have preferences. Now, when you're fresh and brand new and you're just out of Queen's University, you really have no idea what you like and what you don't like. And going back to that first conversation with her, our goal was to keep the options wide enough for her to be able to try out different things, but at the same time to keep them somewhat focused, because honestly, it's really difficult to build a foundational focus in your business, and focus is needed to make to make some cash flow, to have that momentum. Focus is so needed, and it's really hard to build foundational progress in your business without focus. So in early stages, you want to have somewhat a focus, not too narrow, not too wide, but somewhat understanding on what you are going to focus on. So for this specific RCAC, what we talked about, we started, and that's what I suggest for you, start with the process of elimination. What you definitely know that you don't want to deal with, right? So for her, it was refugees because it's a steep learning curve. And she's just like, I just don't feel like, I can undertake this learning curve in my early days. So she's like, no refugees. It sounds like too much for me. She said, study permits, look, she's like, I don't mind doing study permits. It sounds good. It's an issue one, like it's a gray area, but she's like, it might be difficult for me because I really don't have exposure to the market where study permit applicants are, like it would assume that you need to market abroad. So she's like, okay, like let's leave it kind of in the sidelines and let's get back to it. So study permits was like a little bit of gray area. She's like, I know for a fact that I do want to handle economic immigration. So she's like, express entry and maybe provinces where I reside. So provinces where she is residing and like any provinces around that area, she's like, I'm fairly certain I would be keen on economic immigration. And then she's like, I immigrated to Canada through spousal sponsorship. So maybe let's throw in spousal sponsorship. Then additionally to that, she was like, you know what? When I was studying Queen's University, I loved like H&C cases. I love more complicated cases. I really think I'm excelling in that. So maybe this would be something like my long-term goal, to go into complicated cases. But when I'm starting out, you know what? Like let's just focus on like basic economic immigration, express entry, couple of P&P programs in the provinces around my province, and then spousal sponsorship, and then we keep in mind H&C complicated stuff, and then maybe study permits. Let's see how it works. But at least somewhat of understanding, of what we're focusing on was there. So we literally come up with a list of cases. We said, okay, we have like literally 4 case types that we know that would be primary focus for you. Everything else, let's keep our minds open. But let's just see how it goes, right? So we had 4 case types that we identified we're going to focus on. The next step was, within this first foundational piece or pillar, was price audit or price, I guess, determination. So we sat down and we said, okay, like what do you think would be your price strategy? And this specific RCIC, I have to give them a credit because they had a very clear strategy in mind. They said, like, look, I know that it's kind of unconventional, and I know that I'm new, but I want to be right away off the bat be in a premium pricing sector. I want to work with people who will appreciate my time. I want to position my brand, my marketing, my knowledge, and I am committed to getting there with my knowledge and depth. And she's extremely smart person, and she's like, I'm fairly certain I want to be in a premium sector. So I said, okay, no problem, right? And there may be different pricing strategies. You can be in a medium sector, you may be in a lower sector, and that is okay when you're starting out. Because when you're starting out, you need to leave yourself room for, for that figuring out to do. Right? It's a learning curve. It's a business learning curve for you. But for this specific RCIC, what we did, we priced her consultations at $250 per consultation, and her retainer agreement started from $5,500 for PR, of course, retainer agreement. So $5,500 starting point. Some quotes she was issuing for 65. So 55 to 65, that was our playing area as a pricing. So, after this conversation, after this first, foundational kind of piece, we had a good understanding. All right, we're focusing on express entries, P&Ps of couple of provinces, spousal sponsorships, and we're pricing 250 for consultation, 55, 6,500 for PR case, and this is our general area that we're going to play within. And of course, keep our minds open and see how business goes, because in the first year, you have to do that. You have to throw spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks, see what doesn't stick. But the initial understanding has to be there. So this is the first pillar. The first pillar, the first foundation to build is the clarity of your pricing strategy and niche strategy. All right, super important. Now let's talk about the second pillar, second foundational piece. So the second foundational piece, what we started doing, and a lot of people, I would say majority of people, they don't start with this. But the second piece, what we started doing is honestly just getting set up a consultation page, like a checkout page, right? So I was like, you cannot have business, you cannot have cash flow, you cannot have clients unless you literally have a place that your client goes and can put their credit card information into, right? So the second foundational piece was literally just building consultation booking page, and really making sure that that consultation booking page is good. It's leading buyer through the buyer's journey, that it's really the customer flow is really good, that it's not too complicated to fill it out, it's not too simple to fill it out, it follows all the CACC requirements, it has the process, it has a consultation agreement automated, it really makes booking a consultation easy, that the client knows what they're buying, what to expect, what's the refund policy, what are the terms, what are the conditions, are they required, or are they allowed to ask follow-up questions after consultations, what does this all include, what information they need to provide when they're booking consultation. And one of the common mistakes, by the way, is that you're asking way too many questions in the booking process, that the client feels overwhelmed and they just exit the page and they end up not booking that consultation. So make sure your consultation booking page doesn't include too many questions, but making sure that the client has this smooth and compliant, of course, process of booking consultation, signing consultation agreement. And then, that building that process was super important. And along with that, along with that, within that, second pillar, what we started our 90-day marketing challenge. So you build the consultation page. So you build the place for people to check out, right? Number two, you starting your 90-day marketing process. So once this RCIC received a license, she started she actually, you know what's a funny fact is that we actually started establishing her social media presence and her online presence, so to speak, even before she received the license, because you can, set up all the necessary things ahead of receiving license. You just shouldn't be, or you definitely should not be, marketing your services before you receive a license, right? Which she wasn't. But you can do a lot of heavy lifting before you receive a license. So on the day when she received the license, we actually hit the ground running with, with getting the 90-day marketing challenge out. So she was posting literally every day. She was, producing very high quality, depth content that immigrants who are listening to her receive a lot of in-depth value from, her content and all of the stuff that she was producing. And what I see, the common mistake that in early stages entrepreneurs make, they spend like hours building websites, building, I don't know, some CRMs, signing up for all the things in the world, like in terms of technology, right? Like CRMs, like doing the retainer agreement, doing the spreadsheet. And don't get me wrong, all of this good. But sometimes I see RCIC like that I work with, and I tell them like, look, you just spent 40 hours doing all of those things. How much money did you make? Zero. You made $0, right? Just get out of your office, get up from your chair, go and sell something to somebody. Go and sell something to somebody. And the reality is that a lot of times we are hiding behind the admin stuff, behind the building the systems, building the flow, building the SOPs. We're just hiding behind it because we know that it's hard. It's hard to get out and sell. It's hard to get out and get yourself visible in front of people, get yourself business. Get yourself business. It's difficult. But that is exactly why, after we nail down the first pillar, which is niching down and defining our pricing strategy, that is exactly why the second pillar is creating a checkout page for people to book your consultations and actually going and selling in a good way, by delivering value to people, by telling people that you exist, but showing the world that you can provide so much value and you can help so much immigrants that just trying to figure it out, that just trying to build their life in Canada. And that is why the pillar number 2 is marketing. Creating a very simple sales mechanism for your consultations, and getting people to know about this sales mechanism, getting people through it, right? And this is the most important pillar, all right? Because, and everyone who I work with, this is one most important foundational piece. We focus on creating momentum. We focus on figuring out what platforms work for them, what don't work for them, what maybe it's not online presence or online marketing strategy at all. Some of my RCICs actually prefer doing completely different types of marketing. But the bottom line is that the pillar number 2, you gotta sell. You gotta sell. You gotta start selling. You gotta figure out, master the skill, which is the hardest part. The hardest part for any entrepreneur, mastering the skill on how to bring business for your own business, right? How to attract business, how to generate sales. That is the single the most important thing that you need to learn in terms of business ownership, in terms of starting your business. And that is exactly, this is an immediate step number two. After you niche down, after you identify, what you want to sell, for how much, then you're trying to really create that momentum and build the skill of how you are actually going to generate business, get business for yourself, and in the most simple way possible, so the wheels start turning. Now, when you are in a process of this 90-day challenge, so when this RCIC that I was working with, or still working with, when she was in process of this 90-day challenge, then what we started doing, we started working on foundational pillar number 3. And then foundational pillar number 3 was actually to nail down the whole process, from the person booking a consultation to the process of signing a retainer agreement. So what that means nailing down the systems, truly the systems, because we knew she is working really hardcore on building the momentum, on getting the 90-day challenge, marketing challenge, like through it, right? And to people, they get in front of people, get the consultation booking page visited by people who are interested in booking consultation with her. And we knew that once consultations will start coming in, we need a good system. So what are those pieces? Number one, I already mentioned it, initial consultation agreement, getting automatically handled and signed, and or semi-automatically sometimes handled and signed. So we built that with her. Then number two is that CRM system, or I don't think about it as CRM system. I really think about it as a business data analysis system. So what it is that the system, and it can be, anything. It can be ClickUp. I love ClickUp. It can be Notion. It can be Trello. I used to use Trello for 8 years. It can be really, honestly, any other CRM system or any other system. But the point is that you want to track your consultation inflow, who booked consultation, where they came from, and all this kind of stuff. So you literally physically want to set it up that you have a system that you log into, some sort of a dashboard. Let's call it dashboard. You have a dashboard that you see all the consultations that got booked with you. Then the second step is that the process, what happens after consultation. So after consultation, like, did you send them the quote? Did you send them the recap? What kind of email did you send them? And where are those templates for those emails, so you don't have to do this from scratch every single time? So we build out that step. And then after that step, when the person agrees for a quote, or maybe they don't agree for a quote, what happens next? And one of the most crucial steps is a retainer agreement. So we worked with her on a retainer agreement to make sure that it's, number one, compliant, and number two, follows all the business best practices that I've built in the last 10 years. And that's something that I do with every RCIC that I work with. I really work on their retainer agreement and give recommendation on how to not only fix it in terms of compliance, but also fix it in terms of best practices that I've learned, while practicing for the 10 years. So we made sure that her retainer agreements templates are done. We made sure that the whole flow from booking consultation, having that client's record appearing in a dashboard, in a system, having the templates and the process on how to issue quote and a recap and a recording of a consultation, having the process of how to follow up on the quote and templates and all of that, and then having a process on how to send out a retainer that is well structured and well developed. So that flow, like, that's another foundational piece. So number 3, that is a third foundational piece that we were doing with this RCIC while she was doing her 90-day marketing challenge. So that's a third piece. And then the fourth foundational pillar is building upon that data and systems and the information that we were gathering from people that were reaching out to us and booking consultations. So the fourth foundational piece is literally to kind of build even more that CRM that I was just talking about from step number 3, built even more into an actual consultation tracker and business data analysis to understand who is coming to your consultations, from where they're coming, at which immigration stage they're at. Are they a good client? Are they, maybe a client that would be a good client in a couple of years from now? What is happening? What kind of consultations you're getting? Where they're coming from? And building that consultation tracker and consultation like analysis, like again, we use ClickUp, Google ClickUp. You can absolutely use that. And this RCIC that is case study for this episode, she uses ClickUp as well. So then using a case tracker as well. So not just consultation tracker, but case tracker. So to track your cases. And even though at this stage, you probably have like 1 or 2 or 3 cases, but having a case tracker and the system and starting developing the system, how you handle cases, what are your SOPs, what are the steps? And by the way, I just hate words like SOPs. I just want to simplify things and tell you like the steps, like literally the steps, how you handle every single case. And having that dashboard is very important to develop. So again, consultation tracker, retainer agreement tracker, retainer sales tracker. So consultation tracker, sales tracker, then case tracker. So those trackers are 3, consultations, sales, and case trackers. Those trackers I would really, really recommend developing as a foundational piece number 4. And the thing is that because once you start having those consistent sales, and by the way, for this RCIC, she started having consistent sales 2 months after receiving her license. 2 months after receiving her license, she started having like literally consistent flow of consultations in a premium sector price-wise. And once it started like coming into her system, the system was already there. It was established, right? And once we started seeing those consultations coming in, retainers coming in, her first retainer, by the way, that she signed ever in her practice was $5,500 permanent resident spousal sponsorship retainer. And once we started seeing retainers coming in, consultations coming in, the system, the CRM or whatever you call it, ClickUp, was gathering this data. So then now, 1.5 years onwards, like fast forward, we have all that data that we are able to analyze, that business data that's so crucial to analyze, to figure out where is her next opportunity, how to next pivot her business, where should we double down on, and what should we maybe stop doing, what case types are the most working out the most for her business, and what case types maybe we should consider either drop or limit or switch from. What works, what doesn't work. And it's all because we're able to grow right now her business, all because in the beginning we focused on those 4 foundational pieces. And honestly, like what I see all the time is that people, they just want to jump right into like, okay, like I got my license, all right, like where's my cases, where's my money? And the thing is that the simple truth is that without building those 4 foundational pieces, which I'm going to recap in a second, without building those pieces, you really, really cannot expect success to come to you that fast. You just cannot skip that step because you really need to essentially build the floor that you're going to walk on, right? And if you don't build the floor to walk on, then your walk is going to be probably really rocky, right? And this is like a perfect analogy for this, because when you build the floor and you level out, then you can walk on and you can move faster and it can be painless, right? Or at least less painful. So those 4 foundational pieces, I really think that it's so important to focus on when you're starting out. So let me recap them. So number one, pretty fast piece, but it's still required. So figuring out your niche and your pricing strategy. That's number one. Number two piece is launching your 90-day marketing challenge or campaign, and really making sure you have a booking page that people can easily check out, and that you have a very easy flow that how people find you and how people can book a consultation with you for money. Like that's all premise of this pillar number two, or second foundational piece, is that people have a way to find you and people have a way to book a consultation with you. That's it. Then number three is really polish the customer journey, starting from initial consultation agreement and automating that, to doing the consultation, to sending them the quote, to sending them a recap or recording, to following up on the quote, to sending them compliant agreement that really, really is working for your business, and really having that flow semi-automated, or even if it's manual, that's okay, honestly. It's just as long as it's a really, really clear flow on how you're handling that customer journey from booking consultation with you right until signing a retainer agreement with you. So that is the third foundational piece. And the fourth foundational piece is really building that data and system tracking tool. Again, ClickUp is my recommendation personally, but you can use Notion, Trello, or anything else. Monday.com, some of my RCICs are using. And having that foundational system built out so you can actually know what the heck is happening in your business. How much money do you make? How much sales did you make? Where people are coming from? What kind of people are coming from? What's serving you? What's not serving you? Where to double down? What to limit? And what is actually the path to grow your business beyond, right? So that's what it is. Because we built all of that out, she was able to, number one, after 2 months of being licensed, literally start seeing consultations from great clients, perfect clients coming through. Number two, she's able to sell out $5,500, $6,500 retainer agreements. Number three is that she has a full system of consulting, quoting, following up, and actually knowing her numbers, knowing her sales, and having that data engine, truly data engine that is going to serve her business for years, and tell her exactly what to avoid and where to pivot and how to pivot, right? Because data analysis starts with just having actually that data in a way that you can, as a business owner, as a CEO, look at it and see, and like, oh, I didn't know that this is happening in my business. So those foundational pieces really led her to receiving these results, and now it's going to lead her to build so much faster and so much easier on top of those foundational pieces. So if, as you were listening to this episode, if you felt like, okay, I'm missing this and I'm missing that, or this is my gap, please do reach out to me. You can go to Instagram, just type Olena Weber RCIC. You can see my page, and you can message me on Instagram, or you can find me on LinkedIn. And honestly, I'm always so happy to hear from you guys, and just so happy to connect with you. So please reach out to me. Let me know what you feel like you're missing, or maybe you're not missing anything, and maybe you're just wondering what's my next step. Always happy to reach out to you. You reaching out to me. Yeah, super excited to connect with you guys. And I'll see you later in my next episode.